How's it going here, and welcome to my camera comparison between the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13. Now, even though Google and Apple have released newer versions of their Pixels and iPhones recently, I'm sure many people are still looking to spend a little bit less money without sacrificing too much camera quality. And so as of this recording, the Pixel 6a is now on sale for as low as $299 here in the US. So $300 for the Pixel 6a is a pretty irresistible deal. And I'm sure you can find deals on the iPhone 13 now that the iPhone 14 has been released. And quite frankly, given the minimal changes to the iPhone 14, even in the camera system, you might be better off saving some money and sticking with your iPhone 13 or picking one up if you can find a good deal. So in this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos like I always do, so you can decide for yourself which of these two camera systems might be best for your smartphone camera needs. So let's go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. So here's a video test of the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13. We're going to test the video out here on the golf course today, so something a bit different, maybe kind of like a real world test if you will, but you can see they are both recording here at 4K 30 frames per second. We're at the first hole. This is the ultra wide angle camera and the tee is actually shifted over there, but I want to give you a view from what it looks like out here. And this is the ultra wide angle camera, like I said again, so you can compare what that looks like here with that sun over there off in the left and how that's affecting the camera quality. But let's go into the main lens here on each, on the 6a and on the iPhone, so you can compare what the main cameras here look like. Pan around to give you a feel for how things look with the shifting sun and light there. And we can actually go ahead and test out the zoom on each. So there's a max 3 times zoom here on the iPhone, and we go to a max 5 times zoom here on the Pixel. The green is all the way out there. You can see there's a guy out there. That's where the green is. And so we're gonna go and see how we do here. And let's go ahead and tee off. All right, so we'll test out the cameras here, the front-facing cameras as we walk to the ball here on the first fairway. So the sun is coming off from behind the camera, so it's a little bit harsh, and so we're walking through some shade so you can see what the changing lighting conditions do for this front-facing camera. but we're going to be coming back into the sun so you can see again what that looks like here. Also good test for the stabilization. So let me know what you think about how the stabilization here is comparing on both phones. I'll do a quick pan around so you can kind of see how everything looks as the lighting conditions change. Now I can see the sun is behind me, so it looks a bit clearer here on both of these cameras. All right, so here's our rear facing cameras as we actually walk up to my ball here. So you can see the sun is not as harsh over here. So I'll pan around so you can see what this looks like here. Main cameras compared side by side. You can see my ball is right there, and let's see, GPS says I hit that at about 200 and almost 250 yards. Not bad considering there's a good amount of wind coming off left to right, and this whole play is a bit longer. So there's the green right up there, and we can kind of zoom into it with the iPhone. Again, max 3 times, and with the Pixel, max 5 times zoom. You can see the flag right in the middle of that white flag. So let's go ahead and see how we do on our approach shot. All right, so a pretty good shot there. Had to take some extra club, wind coming in from the left, hurting it. But there's my ball ended up, and there is the flag. So let's go ahead and see if we can make this birdie. All right, so we got the par, not too bad. I got a little bit aggressive on that birdie putt, but hopefully this will give you a good idea of what the rear cameras can do here on the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13. So here's a low light video test of the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13. This is the ultra wide angle lens to start out on each. And so I'll just pan around so you can get a feel for how these ultra wide angle lenses compare side by side. And obviously, as you can see, the iPhone 13 has a much wider field of view. It can fit much more in the frame than the ultra wide angle camera on the Pixel. And so let's go ahead and move into the main camera now on the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13. So there we go. This is the main cameras and how they compare on each. I'll just pan around so you get a feel for how these main cameras look side by side. And as you can probably see, the iPhone 13 has a much warmer color temperature and the Pixel has a much cooler color temperature. And to be honest, what I see with my own eyes is probably somewhere in between that. And it's just gonna come down to what you personally prefer, how these colors are being reproduced here. But let's go ahead and pan into that really bright street light so you can see how they do into some really bright light. And iPhone maybe flooding that out a little bit more, but equally, kind of close to equally on both, I guess. And I've seen a lot worse on some other phones, so overall not too bad, I guess. But let's go ahead and pan around this way and start walking so we get that stabilization, as well as see how these cameras perform into a little bit darker situations here. So obviously that was a lot of bright lights back there, so fairly well lit situation. And we're gonna walk over to a much darker area so we can see how these cameras perform with a lot less light. And also you're probably seeing some micro jitters in the stabilization, which can happen in low light. That's pretty typical of phones. And as you round this corner, it's pretty dark. And at least through the viewfinder, the iPhone is brightening things up a lot more than the Pixel is. We'll pause here and we'll pan up into the night sky. And there is some light pollution. There are no clouds in the sky, so really you're seeing a lot of artifacting and a lot more graininess, noise in the iPhone footage, at least what I'm seeing in the viewfinder. After the fact, it could be the same on the Pixel. But let's go ahead and pan around this way, down this alleyway, a little bit mixed lighting so you can see some accent lights off the building. But this alleyway is pretty dark on its own, and so you can see how it's handling in that particular light situation there. And again, iPhone, at least again through the viewfinder, is definitely brightening things up a lot more than the Pixel. So there you go, 4K video test on the Pixel 6a and the iPhone 14. So here's a low light test of the front facing cameras on the Pixel 6a and iPhone 13, and this is being recorded at their highest resolutions, which is 1080p on the Pixel and 4K on the iPhone. This is at 30 frames per second, because at 60 frames it's kind of dark and it's not really recommended in low light personally for me. And what you notice is also the crop for the electronic stabilization is much heavier on the Pixel, so you're going to fit a little bit less in the frame than you will on the iPhone. Other observations is that you're going to, again, like the rear cameras, you're going to see a much warmer color temperature here on the iPhone versus the cooler temperature here on the Pixel. So let's go ahead and start walking so we can test that stabilization and see what that looks like here side by side and how they compare. And we'll also walk over to a much darker area here so we can test out these cameras as it gets a bit darker here. Obviously that was a very good well-lit area back there. And we'll also be passing a water fountain to my right so you can test the microphones with speech enhancement on the Pixel so you can see how that's working against that background noise here, against the sound of my voice. As you pan this way, you can see how these cameras hold up into the really bright street lights behind me and not flooding them out as badly as the rear cameras were. So not too bad here from the front facing cameras in that regard. And we'll pan over here and move back here to the darker areas so you can see what these cameras do with much less light here side by side. And of course, I'm going to try to brighten things up as much as possible, so you can probably be seeing quite a bit of noise on both of these front facing cameras because of that. But at least you're kind of able to see me a little bit better considering how dark it is actually right here. So that's going to wrap up this camera comparison between the Pixel 6a and the iPhone 13. So let me know what you thought about the photo and video quality here from these two phones and which one you personally preferred. And again, at the time of this recording, the Pixel 6a is about $300 here in the US, which is a pretty unbeatable deal. And you can probably find some deals on the iPhone 13 given the iPhone 14 release. But for me personally, I think it's going to come down to how you like to see your photos. I think Pixel, as always, is going to be more contrasty compared to the iPhone. So, and it's going to also produce a little bit more detail. So it's going to depend if you really like that or if you prefer the much brighter tones and warmer tones of the iPhone. As far as video, again, this is typical, stereotypical saying, but iPhone does do video better, especially against this Pixel 6a. I think the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro do step up the video, but clearly, at least for me, what I saw here in the video performance, I would personally take the iPhone for that. So let me know what you thought, if you thought the same thing or somehow thought otherwise, because we all see things differently. Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say, and we can interact more there. And as always, thanks for watching.